Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the first edition of the Talmbout Rasslin podcast here on the Black Phoenix Brand Network. I am your host, the untouchable J.R. Atkins, and this is your primary destination for wrestling conversation. Now, today, as the inaugural edition of this show, didn't do it the way I wanted to do it, but don't worry, you'll see me soon enough. But we're going to talk about a wrestling holiday. That's right. It is Summerslam weekend, and I will be giving you my predictions for the show. It's not the show of shows. The show of shows is actually All In. That's not what we're talking about. But I'm gonna give you my SummerSlam predictions. Tonight is night 1. Tomorrow is night 2. First ever 2-night SummerSlam. Pretty big deal. Pretty big deal. The card is actually pretty solid. I will be tuning in. So let's get these predictions underway. We're going to start with what I think. I think it'll open the show, but it may be more of a cool down match. We'll see where it goes. But Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. I have to be honest, I haven't been tuning into weekly WWE in quite a while, probably since WrestleMania, really. I tune in here and there, kind of keep up with what's going on, but I don't really follow weekly. So these predictions are actually going to be probably some of my most interesting ones because I don't have an idea what's going on storyline-wise all the time. I keep up, but I'm not entirely up to speed on all the storylines and things that they make. So I do know with the Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross situation, Karrion Kross is getting a groundswell of support. A lot of people are ready to see Karrion Kross ascend to that next level. I think all the stuff about his contract is the work. I'm pretty sure he's still re-signed. WWE especially Triple H these days has a habit of doing that type of thing. And again, I think this groundswell of support, they're not going to let that happen and then let him go somewhere else and become a bigger star. Take that groundswell of support with him. So I believe. And also, if I'm not mistaken, Sami Zayn won the match at Crown Jewel, if that's what it was. The last Saudi pay-per-view. PLE, I'm sorry. So I believe here at SummerSlam, this is going to be Karrion Kross's W. I know Karrion Kross got the win back on Raw. I think this will be probably his first pay-per-view win. I'm pretty sure he probably had another one, or PLE win. He may have had another one, but this is probably going to be... with this new groundswell of support, this is going to be a big win for him. So I'm going to give that one to Karrion Kross. Next up, we're going to have... I'm going to save this one. I'm looking at this online, looking at the spread. I'm going to save the bigger matches for last. Let's go with the Women's Tag Team Championships with the Judgment Day. Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez versus Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Again... kind of keeping up with the Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair thing and the Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez thing. I watched Evolution, so I know what was happening there. I know the Alexa Bliss and Charlotte thing is them not being friends, but actually becoming friends. To be honest, I actually kind of like that. I'm not huge on Charlotte. I've been over Charlotte for a long time, to be perfectly honest with you, and every time she leaves, I'm like, cool, maybe she just needs to leave. And, distance makes the heart grow fonder. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. So I'm thinking, okay, she's gone for a while. She'll come back. And I'll be good with her again. And it's like, it's never long enough. She was gone for like a year. Was it last year when she got hurt prior to Mania? And then she came back. You know why? Because when she comes back, they have to push her unnaturally hard. That always just does something. Like let her simmer for a minute before she moves back up. Let's get her involved in something that gets us to care rather than just throwing her back in the main event. they want her to be that so bad, and it's just always eh. And this year, I think it kind of came back to really bite them in the ass. And I think now they're doing something with her that we can get our teeth into, where it's not in the main event, where it's not for the main women's title, and still being able to show her flexing that cachet that she has built up within quote unquote WWE management, that she can just go and request a match or a title match. So I'm not sure about this one. I know on the other end you got Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez that are kind of doing, you know, the replacement of the replacement in the Judgment Day, because Liv replaced Rhea, and now it seems that Roxanne is replacing Liv. I know. I like that too somewhat. I think they brought Roxanne in. They gave her a pretty prominent spot right off the bat. Actually, they've done that between Roxanne, Stephanie Vicker, and Julia. They've actually done a pretty good job with all three of them, putting them in places and spots that actually kind of matter. Only one of the three is on this card, but there are other things coming up. I know Stephanie Vicker has the match at Clash at Castle, or is it Clash at Castle? Clash at Scotland? Wherever it is. Clash at London, wherever it is. The next Clash pay-per-view. She has a title match there, so in a good spot there. Julia is the United States champion on SmackDown, so they got her in a good spot. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but speaking more on Roxanne Perez, they put them all in championship orbit, very, very quickly after their arrival on the main roster. So I think that's a good look. This one, again, I'm not really sure. It feels like they should put it on Alexa Bliss and Charlotte to keep the Friends storyline going, if that's what we're going to stick with. But I also will say, I don't know if it's time to pull it off of Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. Because if they do that, I don't know where that goes then. Especially because it feels like something they should hold on to until Liv comes back. But I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's... You know what? Sticking my neck out. I'm going to go with Judgment Day. Holding on to the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. I'm not sure what that does for the Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair story, because I do think there has to be something there. And I think the only thing that actually makes sense to keep that going is the Women's Tag Team Championships. Unless they're going to feud. And I don't know if I care about that as much as I care about kind of what I'm seeing as them as a tag team. But I'm going to stick with Judgment Day holding on to the titles. Yeah, that feels like the more longer drawn story. On the other hand, hold on. On the other hand, I don't know how far out Liv is from returning. But them losing the titles could also still fuel the next story beat. You know what? I'm changing my pick. I'm going with Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Book it. You heard it right here on Talmbout Rasslin on the Black Phoenix Brand Network. Your host, JR, the untouchable JR Atkins, is saying Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, Women's Tag Team Championships. Book it. Let's move on to the WWE Women's Championship. Tiffany Stratton, the champion, versus Jade Cargill. It's Jade's time. Jade's gonna win. They're gonna make that my prediction straight off the bat. Jade's gonna win. They didn't do my initial pitch or my initial thoughts for what was going to happen here, because I feel like it was such a slam dunk and just kind of made the most storyline common sense ever. That Naomi won Money in the Bank. Jade won Queen of the Ring. Jade was going to go on to SummerSlam and beat Tiffany for the title. That was always going to be the plan, I thought. And then Naomi comes out to cash on Jade. Now, I know that's quote unquote predictable. Somehow we've gotten into the place where we think that predictable means bad. Predictable is not a bad thing as long as it's executed correctly. You can see it from a mile away. Sometimes seeing it from a mile away and seeing it play out is what you want to happen. So that's a little strange why they didn't do that. And maybe, I don't know, but I think the result stays the same as far as Jade and Tiffany. I think Jade, it's Jade's time. They're going to make it Jade's time, even if it's not Jade's time. They're going to make it Jade's time. I would say, if you know, you may not know, but I am a Bianca Belair stan. Okay, that is easily my favorite, one of my two favorite wrestlers right now, in the business. Period. I would say Bianca's probably my favorite in WWE. AJ Styles is right behind her. I'm a longtime AJ Styles fan. Swerve Strickland in AEW. Those three are my three top favorites in WWE and in wrestling, period. Jade, it's always been a little tough for me to get into Jade because I do recognize the physical attributes, the physical, presence that she brings. In ring leaves a little bit to be desired, right? But that's okay. That's all right. That's okay. I mean, I guess it's okay. Like I said, she's a star and she's where, they don't care about that kind of thing. So they're gonna put her on TV. She's gonna win the title, and she's gonna. And now where we go from there, no idea. Maybe eventually the match with Bianca. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where we go with Jade once she wins the title. Like I said, I guess the Bianca thing is there. I don't think we're gonna turn Bianca heel. Because again, where do you go with Jade as champion from there? Next up, we have, apologies for all the vibrations, but your boy is a hot ticket, okay, on this Saturday morning. So next up, let's say we're gonna go with Randy Orton and Jelly Roll versus Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. Celebrity match. Okay, that's an interesting role for one Randy Orton. I'm going to say this is definitely a Randy Orton and Jelly Roll win because that's the thing. Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. Logan Paul as it is this weird kind of part timer, but not a part timer because and listen, I'm not a person that hates Logan Paul at all. As far as in the ring, there's that part of us as wrestling fans who kind of look at him as not a purist, as not a guy of the roster or whatever. But the truth of the matter is, man, he kills it every time. Every time he has a match, it's frustrating that he's so good with no real back. You know what I'm saying? That is almost a mockery, but it's also interesting to see. I'm interested to see what Jelly Roll does. I know he's been training, so that's always interesting when somebody does that, gets into that space, and really takes it serious, gets in the ring, does what they do. So I don't expect them to be Logan Paul prodigy. And Randy Orton and Drew in there, they're a couple of vets, so they're gonna carry it as much. And like I said, and even Logan Paul can carry it as well. So I think it's gonna be a fun match. These things typically are a fun WWE celebrity, whatever type match. But again, I'm giving Randy Orton and Jelly Roll to win here. I'm not sure where we go. Again, one of those things. I'm not sure where we go from there. Depending on what happens with the night 2 main event, but I'll get to that later. Because I think for what I think will happen with the night 2 main event, it may all play out a certain way. So we'll see where that goes. But my pick there is definitely Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. Again, apologies for the for the vibrations, but your boy is a hot ticket. Ticket. I'm gonna fix that real quick. Give me just a second. There we go. There we go. All right. Moving on. You have what I think is your semi-main event: Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. It's Roman and Jey, right? It has to be Roman and Jey, right? Because why wouldn't it be Roman and Jey? And there are rumors about the night one main event or ideas or, and again, it depends. I think this is one of those shows where a lot of things are dominoes. That one thing will lead to another, to another, to another. Or if this happens, then this is going to happen. Or if this happens, this is going to happen. And this will happen because of this. So, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but let's just throw it out there that the rumor is that Seth Rollins is not actually injured. That he actually will cash in tonight. A lot of people expecting that. I think this match with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed will go a long way. As in, I think Roman and Jey win. There's a certain way the WWE books things when it comes to Money in the Bank. If you haven't really paid attention in a decade, 2 decades, 20 years, that's crazy. The way they like to book things is whoever has the briefcase loses a lot. If not a lot, very close to around the time they're gonna cash in, they lose something. There are a lot of very recent examples to that. Naomi lost to Jade, cashes in the main event, wins the title. Last year, Damian Priest held on to his briefcase for almost a year. Night 1 loses the tag team titles. Night 2 cashes in, becomes champion. Even the original Money in the Bank holder, Edge, when he cashed in, he lost to Ric Flair earlier that night by DQ, but he still lost. And then came out and cashed in at the end of the night. There's a history of WWE booking this where whoever holds the Money in the Bank briefcase does lose prior to cashing in. So, I believe with Seth being injured, if he's injured or if he's not injured. If he's not injured, I think this match goes to Roman Reigns and Jey Uso in the place of Seth losing to throw off from the cash in. If that makes sense. Conspiracy theory? Probably. But maybe there's something to it. Now, we do know Triple H in his regime, in his era, does like to subvert what you think is going to happen. For example, Naomi cashing in where she did instead of the thing that probably made the most sense, which was against Jade. So none of that could be the case. But with Roman and Jey, and I think, wasn't it this week where Braun and Bronson took Roman's shoes? Yeah. Roman's coming back for blood on that one. So you can take that one to the bank. So I'm definitely going to give that one to Roman and Jey. I feel like there's definitely a spot for Bronson and Braun to win. There's space for that. I don't think Braun Breaker takes the pin. I think Bronson takes the pin, which is crazy, but more impressive. Probably a double spear from Jey and Roman. Probably does it. So I'm giving that to Roman and Jey. I think that's a solid pick. I'm pretty confident in that pick that it'll be Roman and Jey versus Bronson and Braun. Very big, probably going to be a very great showing for Braun and Bronson. probably will eventually lead to one-on-one matches for Braun versus Roman and Bronson versus Jay at the next PLE. So I think that's or maybe it, perhaps. Again, it depends on what happens in this main event. Speaking of the main event for night one for the World Heavyweight Championship, Gunther, okay, versus Cookie Monster Punk. So I'm going to be honest here. I know this is your first time tuning in, first time hearing me, so let me tell you a little bit about me. I am a huge wrestling fan, been a wrestling fan for a very long time. I do enjoy WWE. I don't want to make any bones about it, but I am an AEW guy since it's come around. I am an AEW guy. Again, I love all wrestling. I do enjoy WWE because I've enjoyed WWE for years. But I'm always someone who enjoys the alternative of what's the big thing, what's the main thing. Not just in wrestling, but just in general. So I was a big WCW guy just as much as I was a WWE guy. I actually like WCW. As most people did. Like, people try to act like WCW wasn't what it was in the 90s. Dude, okay? I was there. I was a big TNA guy. When I first learned about it, big TNA guy. Hated seeing what happened with it, but que sera, right? I also really enjoyed anytime there's a quote unquote, I won't even call it a competition, just an alternative, right? So I love AEW. I love AEW since it first came about, and I love the leaps and bounds that it's grown to. I've attended 2 pay-per-views. I actually was at All In Texas last month, and one of the best wrestling event experience that I've ever had. And I was at WrestleMania 25 for Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. Okay. My first AEW pay-per-view, I say all that to say this. My first AEW pay-per-view was All Out 2022, which, if you know, was the night of the infamous Brawl Out situation. And it was that night, and in the moments that passed afterwards, moments that were to come, that I lost all respect that I may have had at one point in time for Mr. Charles Montgomery Punk. And not even for anything necessarily that he feels or that he did or anything like that, but that it dampered so much my experience of All Out. First time in Chicago, first AEW pay-per-view. The show was amazing. The pop that the Acclaimed got versus Swerve in Our Glory was the biggest pop I've ever heard in my life. Probably. And the only reason I won't put that up against anything at All In, because All In was in the stadium and the way that the sound works. Because I'm pretty sure Hangman winning probably would have been bigger. But for me to have that great experience, and then I leave, and before I even make it home, I see that Punk had set a nuke off in the locker room, and that nuke changed AEW forever. Perception wise, it took them a minute to kind of get back on. They hadn't been the same since. They have not been the same since Brawl Out. So I'm not a Punk fan in the slightest. And then him going back to WWE, So that being said, Gunther versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. Is this Punk's time? Gunther just won the title back, say, a month or so ago? Maybe in June, if I'm not mistaken. Which was a strange choice, but a choice nonetheless. Because I thought Jey Uso was doing fine with the championship. Despite what everybody likes to say, Jey Uso was fine. He was fine. So I think there are one or two things happening here. Punk wins. I could see him having that moment. Or Seth cashes in. He's not injured. This has all been a ploy. It's all been a work. He's not injured. He comes in. He cashes in. I can see that. I like the idea of Seth cashing in. I have a plan. I have a almost a plan C. Well, plan B to Seth cashing in. I think him cashing in here is kind of the same thing. And again, maybe for that reason, it makes the most sense that Jade, that Naomi cashed in on Jade. Well, I'm sorry, that Naomi cashed in not on Jade. Kind of makes the same sense. Well, okay, let's run it back. Let's run it back. I think Naomi cashing in on Jade made the most sense, storyline wise, and where you could go with it afterwards. But I believe perhaps the reason that decision was not made was because this may have been a decision as well, because the same thing makes a little bit more sense. Gunther CM Punk. Seth cashes in. We move forward with Punk and Seth for the title. Again, what does that do for Gunther? And then Seth would have to deal with Gunther too, so that you can flesh this out. You can really flesh this out probably to Mania for the two of them. And then maybe Punk gets his moment at Mania, his main event and his main event match and his main event title win at Mania. I think that'd be a good look. I think it could happen. And then maybe Punk wins the Rumble this year, since they went with Jey Uso this year. Maybe they do give it to Punk. So if he doesn't win tonight, if CM Punk does not win the title tonight, I don't think there's a chance Gunther wins. Period. Either Punk wins or Seth cashes in and he wins. That is my prediction for how this night ends. Seth wins. So my one-on-one prediction here is CM Punk winning, but I guess I make a I don't know, parlay or prop bet or side bet that Seth cashes in and he actually leaves with the World Heavyweight Championship at the end of the night. And I think I'm going to hang my hat on that, because the plan B I had, I don't think is actually happening. And I'll get to that when I start talking about night 2, which is now, because I think I've said enough about that match, because I have things to do. So I got to kind of run through this a little bit. But I'm going to give you what you came to see. Okay? We're not going to phone it in. Okay? We're not going to phone this in. All right. So night 2, I think is going to be insane, because I think there's a lot of crazy things that could happen here. First and foremost, let's go with the WWE Tag Team Championship in a 6-way TLC match. What? That's a lot of bodies. Wyatt 6, the champions, DIY, the Street Profits, Fraxium, Motor City Machine Guns, and Andrade and Ray Phoenix. There are so many bodies, and there's so many high flyers, and there's so many risk takers, and this is going to be a train wreck regardless. I was going to say it's going to be a train wreck. Regardless, it's either going to be really great, and I think it can't help but to be great. DIY are great. The Profits are actually really great. Fraxium is insane. Nathan Frazier, like they're just an insane tag team. The Machine Guns, OGs, but great. And Andrade and Ray Phoenix. Ray Phoenix is insane as well, and Andrade too. This is one of those matches that I don't know how to call it, but I feel like it's going to be Wyatt 6 coming out here with this. They just won those titles. Street Profits had him for a nice minute. I think DIY had him for a minute first. It hadn't been a lot of hot potato with the WWE Tag Team Championships. But I think the Wyatt Six needs to win here to really solidify themselves as what they are. They haven't lost. I'm pretty sure they've lost a match or two. They hadn't had many matches as a group or individuals, I'm sure. I think this needs to be another win to solidify them. I think that's going to be a really good match. I'm actually looking forward to that one probably more than anything else on this card. I'm interested in the dominoes falling, but that match in particular I think is going to be insane. I'm going to be watching very squeamishly because like it happened there. Next up we have Dominic Mysterio, Dirty Dom, versus the phenomenal AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship. It's Dom. It's going to be Dom. Dom needs another big win. It's going to be Dom. AJ Styles is my guy, like I said earlier. One of my favorites. My absolute favorites. All-time favorites. But it's going to be Dom. It's going to be a great match. AJ's going to carry him to a great match. And Dom isn't as bad as people like to act like he is. AJ's going to carry him to a really good match. But Dom is going to do what Dom does. He's going to win dirty. He's going to lie, cheat, steal. He's going to pull out the dub. There's not even much to say. And again, I this is one of those matches that I'm like, I've kept up with it a little bit, so I kind of know what's going on. I knew we were heading here for a minute. But now we're here. I actually thought we were going there before, but I thought we were going to AJ and the Intercontinental title back by WrestleMania. But we took the detour to Logan Paul, so go figure. United States Championship. Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu in a steel cage. Fatu is over. And he's getting the push. That 4 and the 5. He's over and he's getting the push out of this world. The build-up for this has been pretty interesting. That's one of the things I've kept up with from SmackDown. The cage is the difference maker here. Fatu had it felt short run with the U.S. Championship. Solo finally winning something. I think Fatu takes it back. That's what I think. It's been a cool run with Solo. He has MFT, but I think Fatu takes the dub. Ultimately, gets that U.S. Championship back. Yada, I mean. Again, big push, whole lots of merch. He's been getting merch. One of the things I do daily is check WWE Shop just for new merch. See what's out, see what's on sale, see how ridiculous some of these prices have gotten. Like, these belts are insane. I have a few myself, but I will not be buying from WWE Shop because these belt prices are insane. That's neither here nor there. Another thing I'd like to check on is to see how much Bianca Belair merch there is, because they have done a disservice to her. The way that they give a lot of other people merch and not her is very infuriating me, but that's neither here nor there. I guess one more time, maybe she did have a lot. I don't know, but I need more. I need Rhea Ripley levels of merch for one Miss Bianca Belair. Jacob Fatu has come in the game and got a ton of merch already. It's crazy. So, moving on. Women's Intercontinental Championship. Becky Lynch, the champ, versus Lyra Valkyria. Apparently, this is the no DQ match. Now, looking at it here, it doesn't say that. But I've seen somewhere that it is a no DQ match. And I actually want to say I saw that on WWE. .com. So that's what it needs to be. All these matches have been, their matches have all been great. I think Becky beats Lyra again. And maybe because of Bailey, though I don't know where we go from there. But I can see us doing a Bailey a Lyra thing. I know they've I think it was off TV, but they teased the Bailey kind of healing up a little bit. So maybe Bailey helps Becky, but that doesn't make sense. But it could happen. But I think Becky takes the win here. I'm not. That's one that I'm not the most secure in. Like that wouldn't be my lock pick. But I think Becky takes. I think Becky goes home, Women's Intercontinental Championship, and moves on to. I think Becky elevates that title. Lyra definitely needed the Becky feud because she wasn't really doing anything on Raw with it. She had a few matches here and there, but it did need it. Not even that it needed Becky to hold it, but Lyra needed the feud with Becky to elevate that title. The United States Championship was a little different at its inception because Chelsea Green as the character was so entertaining that belt, and she had the gimmick to back it up, kind of becoming like the president and the secret Hervis and all of that. So Lyra needed something, and I think this Becky feud is it. Throwing Bailey in the mix as well. Now you have two of your, again, the OG women in the women's division, 3 of the 4 horsewomen who are, I think the only person who's more OG is like Natty at this point. So having them, and Natty's not the profile, unfortunately, that a bit like she wouldn't do for that title what a Becky Lynch would do for it, especially Becky, because Becky's probably one of the biggest stars. Again, I think, and this is again my bias, but prior to like a Bianca and a Rhea, Becky was the biggest star that could hold that title in that company right now. And I think Bailey is probably the most underappreciated horsewoman, but she also deserves more than what she gets. But I could see her. But if she goes heel, then what? Because then she just fused with Lyra, but then what happens to the Intercontinental Championship? There are plenty of women who could go forth and challenge. And whoever beats Becky is going to be, I won't say made, but that's going to be a big win for them. I don't know if it needs to be Lyra right now. So that's my pick on that one. I think if you didn't catch, I think Becky wins. I think Becky keeps the Women's Intercontinental Championship for sure. We have the Women's World Championship. Naomi versus Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley. It's Naomi. I think Naomi keeps it. She definitely, because again, Io just had it. Rhea has had it forever, it seems like. You want to keep that new blood going, keep it on Naomi, and we keep it moving. Now, I'm not gonna look right now because I don't have time, but I'm pretty sure they're doing the are they doing the wasn't that the Crown Jewel Championship though? Are they doing another Saudi show where they do the champions face each other for the whatever? Again, I thought it was Crown Jewel, but maybe, I don't know. I don't know if they're doing that or not. Or maybe they're going to hold off to like next year or something. If they were doing that, it would make perfectly good sense to keep the belt on Naomi, put the belt on Jade. They have that match, and then you still kind of get, I guess, what I thought you would have done if Naomi had won the championship. And you put it on Naomi. I think Naomi wins. Like I said, Io had it. Rhea's had it forever. Io just had it. Naomi needs her flowers. This is her time. She is over. She is killing it with this caution character. overplays it sometimes, but getting into a bag that I know she is wanted to get into forever, and she is killing it. Love to see it. I love to see it. And somehow, pardon me for being a man, and somehow got even thicker. How? Oh, maybe she was always. I don't know. Sorry. That's not even what we're talking about. Not even what we're talking about. But I digress. And then we're gonna move on to our main event. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes 2. And this one is a street fight. So here's the plan B. Before I even get to my number one, what I really think is going to happen, because I think my plan B doesn't happen because my plan A probably will happen, and it's a dominoes thing. It was mentioned the idea that Seth would cash in. Seth didn't injure Seth to cash in, and obviously if he was going to cash in, he'd cash in on Punk or Gunther. But I offered this: what if that's what, quote unquote, they want you to think? What if night one ends, Punk wins, no Seth, and you don't think anything of it? Oh, I guess Seth didn't come in, because it ain't all the sense in the world for Seth to cash in on Punk or Gunther for his belt. But no. This match is a street fight. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes is a street fight. What if, out of nowhere, burn it down, and Seth cashes in that match? And now what you have going forward is Seth is champion, and his crew versus Cody Rhodes. Or Seth and his crew versus Cody Rhodes and the newly quote-unquote babyface John Cena. That is a babyface team to be reckoned with, right? No one would expect that because everyone's expecting the Seth cash in. After night one, nobody would be thinking about it anymore. And the reason it makes even more sense is because now you don't, not only are you not thinking about it because of the night one thing, there's no presence of Seth, of Braun Breaker, no Bronson Reed, no Paul Heyman, no Roman Reigns, none of the pieces to make you think Seth would be there is involved here. That would absolutely be shocking. However, something happened that I think changes my entire pick, my entire prediction, or at least takes that out of play for me. Last night on SmackDown, John Cena, quote unquote, went babyface again. He said John Cena is back. And he gave this promo that, that Travis Scott and The Rock turned their back on him and they didn't show up. And all of that. And then Cody and he shared a real American beer. And to me, it was in that moment right there that we established that Cody Rhodes is turning heel. That is as big of a if it's a red herring, it's a great one. And it's one of those things that I think like you would look at it and be like, oh, you're just reading too much into it. But listen, Cody said that if he ever turned heel, he would want to do stuff that would get him canceled. Real American Beer is the brand that was being promoted by Hulk Hogan. That's why he was there at that Raw that he got booed out of the building in LA. It is a very specific choice to do real American beer as the beer of choice for that segment. Because there are other beers. Could have used a Stone Cold beer. Could have used. I mean, if you didn't want to go with a brand that Now, granted, I know Real American Beer was a sponsor. I don't know if they still are, but they were. Hogan just passed. There's the idea that it could have been a bit of a quote unquote a tribute to Hogan, which even that in reality is a heel tinged move. I think he was hinting at the Hogan of it all. The real life Hogan and the fact of the heel turn of Hogan. I think we're going to get, I don't know if it's a double turn, because what could happen here is that set the stage for the double turn. That John Cena now has decided he's back. They broke bread. You may even get a Rock appearance out of John Cena saying that these people promised me these things or said they had my back and didn't show up. And Rock shows up and he's like, oh, you do have my back, but then it's I think this is now become intriguing. And I had no interest in a Cody heel turn, kind of in the same way that I had no interest in Cody versus Cena the first time around. And people have talked about the Cody heel turn and like, oh, we got the and I didn't understand why. I still don't really understand why, but I definitely believe it's happening now. So my money right now is on Cody Rhodes coming out of this match, the winner, the champion, and the heel. You got no baby faces. Only you have Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins as your top heels on both brands. I mean, I guess you got Gunther in there too. It sucks for him, but hell, he could go babyface. Perfectly honest, he hadn't done. That's one thing he hadn't really done. He could be a babyface. Don't know how that looks, but it could work. It could absolutely work, and especially if or he could be just like this tweener that's around here just chopping the shit out of people. So there's that too. But my money is on Cody Rhodes. Again, I didn't even think Cody Rhodes was going to win this match. To be perfectly honest, I thought Cena would hold it until the end of the year. But the way this has now been positioned, I think Cody Rhodes turns. The other aspect of that, the simple thing there, seems to have been John Cena cuts his promo about how he's back and like, essentially, oh, I'm a good guy now. These people turn their back on me. And then Rock shows up and proves that, it was all a ruse, which I guess could be fine or whatever. It's not as intriguing as the idea of Cody Rhodes and this double turn that they're kind of seem to be setting up. So there again, there are dominoes in place. Now, all of that, I think, kind of contradicts the Seth Rollins aspect of things. So I believe that that's where we're going. I think that's where we're going. I think we're going heel Cody Rhodes. Probably a heel Cody Rhodes aligned with The Rock, who may or may not make any more appearances on WWE TV. Definitely do not want Travis Scott anywhere near a WWE ring. We got enough of that with Jelly Roll and Logan Paul. And Travis Scott doesn't seem to be. But in this new era of WWE that they're trying to work everybody, I think we are, anything's possible. But I think I saw that clue to me. Let me know what I think is going to happen. It definitely inform where I think we're going here. So I think Cody Rhodes turns heel. John Cena loses. Cody Rhodes is the champion. Why you would turn your biggest babyface heel, I have no idea. But that's what I think is going to happen. That's at least the interesting thing that can happen. I think that beer, when I read the way I read that story, I don't know if where I read it pointed it out for any particular reason, but to me, I think that was the smoking gun of like, oh, this thing is happening. So if it happens, you heard it here. Maybe not first. Because I haven't seen anybody else with this theory. But if it happens, you heard it here first on Talking Rasslin here on the Black Phoenix Brand Network from your boy, your host, the untouchable J.R. Atkins, at your primary destination for wrestling conversation. And this has been my Summerslam predictions. Now, a little programming note. Talking Rasslin will be here every Friday or Saturday. Saturday probably seems like the sweet spot as far as my scheduling goes. You can tune in here on Substack. You can tune in on my YouTube. Black Phoenix Brand on both of those. BLKFNX Brand on both. Now, we did this one a little differently because I wasn't able to get on camera today. And in theory, I probably could have, but we didn't. But that's okay. Going forward, we will be on camera. We may do this every so often, this type of video with the the things. But stay tuned. Also, make sure you subscribe to my Substack as well. I do getting my feet wet in the Substack game. All right, I just posted an article on what we're going to call "What's Up Wednesdays." It's going to be my weekly article on Wednesday. It's going to be a written article. You can catch that on Substack. And there's something special coming on Monday, so tune in this Monday for my next content. And the schedule should be Monday, something special. Wednesdays is What's Up Wednesdays, where I give you a written article to read. This week was about the passing of Hulk Hogan and what that means to black folk. And of course, Saturdays. Let's set in on Saturdays. Saturdays is going to be Talmbout Rasslin right here. The Black Phoenix Brand Network again. It's not always going to be wrestling. It's going to be wrestling. It's going to be music. It's going to be politics. It's going to be whatever we're talking about. So make sure you go and subscribe, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, link it, like it, do it all. I am your host, the untouchable J.R. Atkins, and this has been Talmbout Rasslin. Happy SummerSlam, everybody. Happy SummerSlam.